Good evening. The best laid plans for millions of holiday travelers may be at considerable risk tonight as a winter storm is building, on track to become what forecasters call a bomb cyclone, a rapidly intensifying storm that will target the Great Lakes region, including cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, and Grand Rapids, with blizzard conditions just 3 days before Christmas. Tonight, many holiday air travelers are already scrambling for alternatives. Several airlines are waiving booking fees, encouraging travelers to hedge their bets against likely cancellations. Tonight, some 70 million across 25 states are under winter alerts. And on the heels of the storm, the bottom is going to fall out as an Arctic blast plunges much of the country into a deep freeze. There are wind chill alerts posted in 25 states. Below zero wind chills expected to be felt as far south as Alabama. We'll have the timing in a moment, but first the travel picture from Maggie Vespa in Chicago.
Tonight, a crippling collision course taking aim at holiday travel. A monster winter storm already blanketing the West, set to bring rain, wind, snow, and a brutal Arctic chill across some 40 states this week. Snow expected as far south as Tennessee and Arkansas, with 75 million under wind chill and freeze alerts.
Please keep all boarding passes out. Thank you.
This as 113 million Americans, a post-pandemic record, take to the roads and the skies, planning to spend the holidays with loved ones.
We wanted to be with our families, so we made sure to book for today.
The storm's strength building in the Pacific Northwest, already dumping a foot of snow in Washington as airlines brace for delays and cancellations nationwide. A growing list including United, American, Southwest, and JetBlue already waiving rebooking fees for those flying through airports in the storm's path. Officials at Chicago O'Hare, a hub for United and American, have cots ready for stranded passengers.
We're out there with trucks in place just in case we start getting sleet today.
Adding to the chaos, British Airways canceling flights overnight, blaming a now resolved technical issue. Some passengers were told they could be here up to 4 days. This woman is 5 months pregnant and concerned she may now get caught in the storm.
Really worried. No one will help us. No one will talk to us. Can't get through on the phone.
Meanwhile, the vast majority, 102 million Americans, are hitting the roads. That drive fueled by falling gas prices, down 18 cents from a year ago.
Should they be traveling earlier to get to where they want to go for the holiday?
If you have the flexibility to get in your car and leave earlier, try to do that this week.
All right, Maggie Vespa joining us now from Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Maggie, what other advice do travel experts offer?
Well, Lester, they say definitely have a backup plan. Check the forecast on your trip out and on your trip back, as the ripple effects of this storm, they say, could disrupt travel into early next week. Lester.
Maggie Vespa at O'Hare, thank you. And with this big storm and frigid cold about to sweep across the country, let's bring in Bill Cairns for the latest track and timing. Bill, what are we looking at in the few days ahead?
Lester, this one's going to be the worst pre-Christmas storm we've seen in decades. So we already have areas that are watches and warnings from the Pacific Northwest all the way to West Virginia, everywhere in between. The timing of the worst weather. We start Thursday morning with snow in areas of Missouri, Kansas City, heading towards the Midwest. Chicago, snow breaks out during the day on Thursday. By Thursday evening, St. Louis to Chicago into Michigan, steady snow and the winds beginning to pick up. At the same time, heavy rain from Washington, D.C. up to New York City will have its own airport delays. Then by the time we get to Friday morning, this is when it becomes a bomb cyclone. This is when we'll have the strongest winds and power outages. It's not really about the snow. Yes, we're going to get 6 to 12 inches in the Great Lakes. It's about the winds with this storm. And the winds will bring that cold air all the way down to the Gulf Coast. Dallas, -2 Friday morning. And by the time we get to Christmas Eve morning, negative wind chills in the Northeast and even Central Florida, Lester, freezing cold.
Yes, the rumors are true. This is going to be the coldest Christmas in decades for millions of people across the U.S. Some of the coldest air on the entire planet from around Siberia has slipped through the jet stream, and it's currently falling across Canada and headed right towards the central and eastern U.S. This is going to bring wind chills to 50 to 60 degrees below zero in portions of Nebraska, Wyoming, and South Dakota on Thursday morning. It's also going to feel like 5 to 10 degrees below zero through a lot of the northern half of Texas early in the day on Friday. And just watch as this wall of cold air infiltrates the Ohio Valley and East Coast as we get closer to Christmas. We could see a wind chill value of -50 15 or lower in Nashville, Tennessee Friday morning? And how about single digits in northern Florida on Christmas Eve? This cold air is also going to be accompanied by a massive blizzard that we still don't know the details on yet. It looks like the strongest winds and the heaviest snow totals will occur somewhere around the Great Lakes, but that could still shift as we get closer to the storm actually happening. It could go farther east or it could go farther west. And of course, when we do know those details, I'm going to be the first to let you know. So make sure you like and follow for more.
All right. Shalom. All praise to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. All right. This should be a short lesson entitled The Arctic Blast or Arctic Blast is on the way. All right. They're predicting very cold temperatures coming. Oh, you know what? No, the Lord is sending an Arctic blast. How about that? I like that better. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have people that say, well, the white man using this HAARP device, whatever. The so-called white man does not control the weather. Overall, everything is controlled by the Almighty. Does the so-called white man Esau have the HAARP device? Sure. But who gave him the technology to put it together? Who put it in his mind to want to make such a device? The Almighty, through the spirit of Satan. Okay? Or Satan, through the power of Yahweh Shai, put the thoughts in the so-called white man's mind to want to control the weather. But the control of the weather had to come from the Lord. Anyway, you saw a couple news reports. One was from NBC News, okay, talking about this holiday travel and these people that's going to be out there moving around, moving about. All right, if brothers and sisters have to travel, be careful, find out the temperatures and what's going to be going on, where you're going, if you have to drive or if you have to fly. If you have to fly, more than likely you may wind up, getting some delays depending on where you are. And it's even going to be cold down here, even in the south. Even here near the coast, they said here the end of this thing I saw popped up, got me concerned. You see right here on the coast where it says Charleston 10 degrees. Good Lord, -4 in Atlanta, 2 degrees in Raleigh, even 24 degrees in Orlando. So if it's 10 degrees in Charleston, it's going to be 10 degrees here in Myrtle Beach. It's very close. All right. So that's a little bit concerning. But you know what? Brothers may have to, depending on what the Spirit say, you may have to, if you do teach at night or in the evenings, you may have to try to change that. Maybe go out in the daytime. But it's all according to the Spirit. If you was going out on Saturday, maybe you go out on Friday instead. It just depends. You move your schedule around, according to what the Spirit, what Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai will allow, of course, right? But it's something to think about. Bundle up, be aware, this and that. And, they're saying here record cold temperatures. We ain't thinking about this so-called Christmas thing. That ain't what this is about. This is about this intense weather. Brothers, bundle up. That Arctic chill is coming. And it's going to be pretty much across the whole United States. Now, at the end of the day, the Most High is the one that controls the snow. We'll start with the snow, right? This is Job 37, verse 1. At this also my heart trembleth and is moved out of his place. Hear attentively the noise of his voice and the sound that goeth out of his mouth. He directeth it under the whole heaven, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth. We know who controls the lightning. After it a voice roareth, he thundereth with the voice of his excellency, and he will not stay them when his voice is heard. The Most High thundereth marvelously with his voice. Great things doeth he, which we cannot comprehend. Listen, for he saith to the snow, be thou on the earth. What? For he said to the snow, be thou on the earth. Likewise to the small rain and to the great rain of his strength. He sealeth up the hand of every man, that all men may know his work. So a couple of things out of that. Who is it that's sending the snow, the rains, the lightning, the thunder, the storms? Is the Almighty. And he sealeth up the hand of every man, that all men may know his work. The original author of snow, rain, sleet, storms, and tempests is the Almighty. Now you may say, well, this snow ain't even real. It snowed and I picked up the snow and it was plastic. Okay, cool. But who was it that put the devil in authority and gave him the technology to come up with such a scheme as to make plastic come out of the sky instead of real snow or fake snow. It was the Almighty that did it. And then on top of that, it's still cold as all hell. It's still cold as balls out, is it not? Learn something, Jake. Stop giving all the Lord's credit to the devil, the so-called white man Esau. This right here is Job 38. Right? And the Lord I love these chapters, Job 38, 40, 37, because, the Most High was getting down. He was telling Job, answer me, He told him to gird up his loins like a man and answer him. Now, I'm going to start at verse 12. It says, the Most High's mighty power. And he was asking Job these questions. He said, hast thou commanded the morning since thy days, and caused the day spring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it? It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. Hast thou entered into the springs of the sea? Or hast thou walked in the search of the depth? Have the gates of death been opened unto thee? Or hast thou seen the doors of the shadow of death? Hast thou perceived the breath of the earth? Declare if thou knowest it at all. Where is the way where light dwelleth? And as for darkness, where is the place thereof? That thou shouldest take it to the bound thereof, and that thou shouldest know the paths to the house thereof. Knowest thou it because thou wast then born, or because the number of thy days is great? The Lord is saying, have you been living since eternity like me? Did you measure the earth? Do you know how many miles have you stretched out the bounds of the heavens? Very deep. He said, hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow? Or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? See that? He said, do you know where the treasures of the snow are? And when you think about it, your mind can't fathom. Where must it all be stored at? It must be treasures of snow laid up, rains and hail in certain departments, someplace in another dimension that when the Lord desires, he just sends it. You can't even begin to wrap your mind around that. Don't give these damn devils the credit of the Lord. Okay? Who is that controls history? It's the Almighty. Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua. Hast thou entered into the treasures of the snow, or hast thou seen the treasures of the hail, which I have reserved against the time of trouble, against the day of battle and war? But by what way is the light parted, which scattereth the east wind upon the earth? Who hath divided a watercourse for the overflowing of waters, or a way for the lightning of thunder, to cause it to rain on the earth where no man is, on the wilderness where there is no man, to satisfy the desolate and waste ground, and to cause the bud of the tender herb to spring forth? Hath the rain a father? Or who hath begotten the drops of dew, out of whose womb came the ice, and the hoary frost of heaven? Who hath gendered it? The waters are hid as with a stone, and the face of the deep is frozen. And I mean, you can go on in this chapter, brilliant stuff. And you just, although you don't understand, you can see that the Lord his complexity is very high. He's very intelligent. Above all beings, there's no one else with this much knowledge. That's why he's called, one of his titles is the great architect. He put all this stuff together. Everything that you see that you take for granted, it's the Most High that did it, and that designed it, and that owns it. It's all his design. Even though Yahushua and the angels brought forth existence, they brought forth creation, They brought forth the creation of the planet and the elements. Who was the original design written by? The Almighty Yahweh. Romans 11:33. Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High. How unsearchable are his judgments, and his ways past finding out. You see that? When you go into that word unsearchable, you think you know what it means, but if you look at it.
Strong's G419, Anexeiraunitas.
Right. And we want to give praise, honor, and glory to the Almighty, Yahweh. It says that cannot be searched out. Not searched out. Inscrutable, unsearchable. See that? You can't search out the Lord. You can't figure him out. He's unsearchable. Let's look it up right here. Unable to be clearly understood. Inscrutable. See that? Unable to be clearly understood. Inscrutable. That's the Lord. You know, that's the big daddy of the whole universe. You don't want none of this. Little feeble men talking about they've running something. You ain't running nothing. So-called white man, you punk ass. This is Nahum 1 verse 1. The burden of Nineveh. The book of the vision of Nahum the Elkoshite. You don't even know what that means. He wasn't Israel. He was an Elkoshite, you idiots. The Most High is jealous and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. And somebody gonna freeze to death across this country during this cold time. Somebody gonna get frozen. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath made his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. Are you starting to develop the picture now? Who it is that's running this universe, that controls things? He rebuketh the sea and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence, yea, the world and all that dwell therein. You see, who can stand before his indignation, and who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. See, so this is the Lord. He does all of this, the Almighty. And he gave that power, like unto him, to his son. The Almighty Junior, if you want to say it that way. Salakia, no mean no disrespect. All right, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Yahweh Shai. The Lord Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him. But with an overrunning flood, he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemies. You see? So the darkness is, all these different things. Darkness will pursue his enemies. He's going to make an end of Babylon the Great. It says, what do ye imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. Right, when we get out of these curses, we're going to party, Lord willing, we make it. Affliction will not rise up a second time, but we got to go through, what we got to go through. Of course, Jacob's trouble is on the way. We got to even go through this little irritating so-called holiday season. Sure, we got to deal with it, but whatever. We'll still be prophesying and bringing out the words of the Lord even through it. So, just a quick news flash, if you want to say that. Warning brothers about the cold. Let's always keep in mind who it is that sent the cold. And we're going to be warned. We got the fire of the Lord burning in us. Isaiah 28 verse 2, behold, the Lord hath the mighty. Who? The Lord hath the mighty and strong one, which as a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, shall cast down to the earth with the hand. Don't get proud. And don't start thinking of these people more highly than they are. They don't control shit. The Most High is running this whole universe. Even the chaos is controlled. Okay? This chaos that Esau Edom trying to bring, all the wicked stuff that they're doing, the Lord allowed it. He wrote it into the story that they would do wicked things. He created the wicked for the day of evil. This is Isaiah 29 verse 6. And I only say that to say, if you're in the mindset of thinking that these devils are controlling the weather, okay? Thou shalt be visited of the Lord of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And the reason I read this, because whenever we deal with the earthquakes or the natural disasters, the tempests, the storms, the snow, and all of that, just have to remind you who it is that's in authority of these things. Because these news reports, they talk about it and they tell you, be careful, and the Christmas storm and the chaos and all of that. Well, keep it in the back of your mind who it is that's in charge of these things. Because as we always say, why fear the devil if your God controls the devil? The Lord is going to send an Arctic blast. Try to get yourself prepared the best you can, all right? Nothing wrong with being prepared. Don't be stupid, all right? And by all means, pray. Watch as well as pray, and that's the best you can do. Trust in the Lord.